The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
Your mom's boy toy that's back from the war, that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him. Spoiler alert / subplot that's spoiled in like the first 5 minutes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of wondering. I was like, this movie's not a laugh a minute kind of movie. I wondered what angle you would go to for the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, I have to dig deep sometimes.
Yeah. No, that works. Yeah. So
I guess I could have gone with your child's figment of imagination that is Frankenstein, but that seems like it's too on the nose.
Yeah. So, we talked about last week that this is, kind of an art house film. It's a little bit more metaphorical than what we often discuss. And, you specifically mentioned that this has some big Guillermo del Toro vibes. And, it sure does. Like, it is so... obviously, it's set in the Spanish Civil War, which he loves to go back to.
Francoist.
Yeah, like you said, Pan's Labyrinth is from that era. And Devil's Backbone, I think, as well.
Yes.
Yeah. He loves that era. I mean, it's just there's a lot going on there. There's a lot to discuss, and it seems to be an area of history that he's fascinated in. And yeah, I mean, this feels, like definitely a blueprint for something that he will go back to over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that every culture has its place where it goes back to. A lot of times with let's say Japanese culture, a lot of people go back to the Sengoku Jidai, aka the Warring States period. China has several areas which to go back and draw on. America likes to go back to its either Revolution or Civil War or the Wild West, which was shortly after the Civil War, or during it, kind of. I mean, and I feel like a lot of Spanish speakers, it's the 1940s with the Francoists, which I don't know if that's their heroic or if it's that, that's what we should look to not do again.
Yeah, I think mostly we're looking at people who are like opposed to that, that this is the time that we like eventually rose up away from this sort of like oppressive state.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure there are other people who, like for as many people as, idealize the Union during the Civil War and like, sort of, elevate Lincoln to like this high level, almost like godlike status, the Messiah of America or whatever. You also have the people with the rebel flags on their trucks and, whatever, like, so I'm sure in Spain it's similar. There's probably people on both ends of it, but, because it was such a tumultuous and important moment in their history, yeah, of course they're going to kind of focus on it.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't going to speak against the Reconquista because they have Spain. So, that Inquisition, you got to love it.
Right, yeah.
You didn't expect that, did you? Anyway. Yeah, so let's actually get to the fun part. Oh, by the way, I do want to add a very special trigger warning. ASMR. If you're prone to ASMR, you're going to fall asleep. This will put you out.
Yeah. The kids do whisper pretty much the whole movie. Like
the kids, the mom, sometimes the dad. Like it's sleepy time. The only time that I think you're going to be like wide awake is when there are gunshots.
Yeah, and even beyond just the whispers, like it's just kind of low on dialogue. It's a very like vibes based movie. The plot is kind of like you could pretty much summarize the plot in a sentence or two. It's just sort of like little pastoral scenes that kind of slowly give you a picture of this family's life during this tumultuous time.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's boring. I'm just saying that like the ASMR is strong and the pastoral vibes. Like if there was a movie designed to put you to sleep, this would be it.
Yeah, it's not boring, but it's not exciting. No. You know, it's not trying to be exciting. It's trying to kind of like paint a picture.
Kind of slice of life.
Yeah, definitely.
With one girl's very strong imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, so to get right into it, like it starts and we right away, the credits are over children's drawings that are kind of, you know, they're very childlike. They're a little fantastical, but they're a little real to life as well. You know, so we're getting this idea that this is going to focus on these kids. We're going to see the mundane everyday life stuff, but we're also going to have this sort of like almost magical realist sort of view of the world through a child's eyes.
Right, and the Spanish name for this movie is El Espíritu de la Colmena. Colmena being a beehive, spirit of the beehive, yeah.
And it
so
even
just throwing that out to you.
Yeah, and it even like once the credits end, well, the last drawing is of an audience watching a movie, and then the camera kind of pulls in so that we're now just seeing the movie screen, the child's drawing, and then we get Once Upon a Time. So this is a fairy tale.
More or less,
yeah. And it does further say, I think it's Once Upon a Time, and then it says somewhere on the Castilian Plain around 1940.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're going to pull into San Juan Iglesias, which means St. John's Church. And we got a bunch of guys bringing in films for the kids. The kids are very excited. They're ready to see this. They're like, hurry up.
Yeah, this is a thing that, like, you know, I mean, seems so foreign to us, but, like, you know, at points in history when, like, you know, there wasn't a movie theater in most cities or, you know, or towns or whatever.
Yeah.
There would be these sort of, like, traveling shows.
And this is a very pastoral area to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And so we have, like, this man owns sort of like a multi-purpose hall or whatever, and, you know, this is the event for right now. And, like, the kids are all asking what's the movie? Is it going to be scary? Is it going to be exciting or whatever? And then...
It's whatever it is, baby. That's all it is.
Yeah. And so then we have, like, a little later... a woman comes out and she like blows a horn to like call the town's attention and yells.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a speaker. She's just like, "Hey, the movie's coming on. It's going to be Frankenstein's 5 pesitas per person." Which, have you looked up the value of a pesita?
No.
Like, so it's not really used. It's like used in Andorra, I think, right now still, but mostly it's euros in Spain. But 5 pesitos is not even a penny. It is 1/5 of a penny right now. That is the value. So
wow,
you know,
yeah,
it's not even a nickel theater back in the day.
Okay. And so from the announcement we cut right to the whole town basically filling this hall, and like they're bringing their own chairs. Like this is not a movie theater. And they're just packing the place.
It's a church.
Yeah. So they're fully filling it up as best they can. The movie starts, and it's really great. Like we have like shots of, you know, James Whale's 1931 Frankenstein, and also all these shots.
Get the voiceover.
Start
in Spanish.
It's great. It's dubbed. So we have him coming out and giving the warning and everything, but you know it's dubbed in Spanish, and then so the subtitles. We're getting to see what he's saying, and it's not exactly what he says in English. You know, it's, and of course the subtitles may be a loose translation of the Spanish, you know, but we're getting it's kind of a telephone game thing here.
Right. Well, that's how language works, right? Because the way you say something in one language isn't the way you'll say it in another.
Yeah. I thought the best...
That's how it is.
The best part was, you know, I mean, the ending of it is that, you know, like, well, we warned you, basically, you know, And in this one, he says, "Don't take it too seriously," which is a very different sentiment. You know, like he's not trying to scare you that it's bad. He's just reassuring you that it's safe. It's a movie. It's, you know, don't take it so seriously.
Yeah. But also, do you think maybe that it was added in, that was changed specifically because of the fascists? like because they don't want people to I don't know. They're really concerned about people like believing fantasy is reality. It's a weird thing.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a touchstone for fascism. Once they are like, no, you will confuse fantasy for reality, that's when you should start worrying about somebody.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. That kind of checks out. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get a little bit, like, while that whole intro's going, we cut to, like, the audience as well, and, like, these people are just in awe, you know? I mean, this is, not us just getting to go see a movie any day we want. Like, this is a big event, and this is exciting and impressive in a way that we could not even fathom,
Right.
And we especially see two girls who are like just wide-eyed. They're just really, really impressed.
Yeah, the dark-haired one is Anna, and the light-haired one is Isabel. They are sisters. I feel like they both resemble their father, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm not 100% on Anna, but I have feelings.
Yeah. So yeah, from right after he says "Don't take it too seriously," we cut to the girl's father. We don't know that right away, but we have this man. He is working outside, and he's caring for a bunch of like bee colonies.
Bees?
Yeah. So
Sorry.
here's our title of the movie, basically.
I'm 100% going to insert Nicolas Cage into this, saying the bees.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees!
And yeah, we get like because this, like we keep saying, it's kind of slow and pastoral. We just spend time with him for several minutes as he cares for bees. There's no plot, just him.
No dialogue.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll cut away from that to a woman who we'll learn is Teresa. She is the girl's mother, and she is writing a nostalgic letter to someone that she loves. Yeah, because at first, if you're just watching this right away, you don't necessarily know the beekeeper is her husband, and it sounds like she's writing to her husband out serving in the war, but. No.
Her husband's not in the war, though.
Yeah. He's just right down the road taking care of his bees. And but she's got a long lost love of some kind who is serving. And she's not even sure if he's still alive, but she's still writing these letters because she, clearly has a connection and misses him very much.
Right. Well, she rides down to the train station to deposit the letter because, believe it or not, at one point people did not have mailboxes in certain countries. So you had to actually deliver your letter to the post office or whoever's going to be there, and they were going to take it from there. So she does that, but she sees a soldier, and they have some eye contact. I'm guessing this is the guy, right? This is the guy.
Yeah, I wonder.
We're pretty sure we're...
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was him and he was just passing by, or if, like... he was just lonely and, just seeing a beautiful woman and she's lonely and seeing a soldier and it reminds her of her lost love. But yeah, either way, there's definitely a moment here where they kind of make eye contact and there's some a hint of flirtation here. But yeah. And as the train goes, he kind of keeps looking back and trying to catch her eye for, another second longer or whatever.
Yeah. And she's staring at him, of course. But then we're going to cut back to the beekeeper, Fernando, who opens his pocket watch, and it plays a very, very melodious tune, I guess you would say.
It's like a little music box inside his pocket watch.
Yeah, it's loud. I've never, that must be an expensive pocket watch.
Yeah. And, so he sees what time it is, I guess, and steps away from the beehives, removes his beekeeper hood, lights a cigarette, and starts walking back into town.
Right, and he walks past the church that's playing Frankenstein, and, he kind of scoffs at it. Oh, this is silly, whatever. Yeah,
we can hear bits of the dialogue coming out of the church, and yeah, he's not interested. He just keeps moving along.
But this is a mansion, right? You'd have to say this is a mansion. Looking for his wife, Teresa. And he goes back, he's looking for his daughters. He asks where mis niñas. And the old lady's like, I don't know, I think they went to the movies.
Yeah, there's an old lady caring in the garden. I guess she's like a housekeeper or something. We eventually get her name. I forget what it was. But she says Teresa went into town. She's not sure where or for what, and that the girls are at the movies. And So then we just see Fernando sitting down, relaxing after his day caring for the bees. He's reading the magazine El Mundo.
The World.
Yeah, and as he's reading, we get more we get like audio from Frankenstein again, the Spanish dubbed version. And this part, it's when Waldman is like warning Henry
in the lab.
Yeah, he's like, people are going to think you're mad. You shouldn't be doing this. This is, outside the bounds of what we're supposed to do. And Henry being like, no, it's my work's too important. I can't stop now. And I got a good brain. I took it from your lab. You should know. And Waldman's like, no, the brain stolen from my lab was a criminal.
Abby Normal.
Yeah. So that voiceover is over top of the father reading, and we're not seeing the audience. So I'm not sure what that juxtaposition is trying to tell us. Really, it is.
So this is in the 1940s. The movie came out in the 1930s. I think maybe he saw it when he was younger, and he's just kind of reminiscing about it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, the housekeeper, her name is Milagros, because Ana Milagros. Yes, because Ana does run out yelling after her for a while.
Okay.
A while.
Yeah. I think then we see back at the theater, the kids are watching, but now we're to the Maria scene. And it's real, like, again, we get shots from the film and then shots of the audience reacting, specifically focusing on the two girls, but we get a little bit of other audience members as well.
And they're in it. Like, Ana is like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and as the scene goes, of course, we know how that scene plays out, and the tension builds. Like, like it's kind of a sweet moment, and it seems beautiful, but there's something bad is coming, and you can kind of see it in the girls' faces. They can't even look away because they know. And right as the monster runs out of flowers and looks at Maria, we just cut back to outside the theater.
Right.
And at this time, I think that's probably, that scene was famously edited down because people thought it was so bad, and then there was kind of controversy that like the cut version made it seem even worse. So I bet this is where it would cut away in the film. I don't think they would have seen Maria actually get thrown into the pond.
No, they just would have seen her body. Mm-hmm. Which implications?
Yeah, right? Yeah. There's a lot of essays talking about how people thought that this was like a sexual scene, that there was an assault here beyond just a drowning.
Which once again, this goes back to the Hays Code, right? The Hays Code was in full effect in America, but not really anywhere else because they had sense.
Yeah, but the Hays Code was...
We were too worried.
They were so, like, the censorship on this film, I mean, they, like, cut the scene after the fact, and that's the way it was in the world until... I want to say it was like maybe even the 80s, maybe the 70s, but it was like late before they recovered that footage and added it back to home video releases.
Which is funny because the Hays Code really stopped being enforced in the 60s, mid 60s, I think.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, a comparable equivalent to the Hays Code would kind of come back around in the late 80s, but it would only last like 4 or 5 years, which is thankful.
Yeah.
The whole Parents Against whatever
PMRCC, the PMRCC was the music one, but there was a similar one for movies. But outside we see that Teresa is now heading home, or she's biking past the theater. So she gets home, and then we go back to the theater and see, as you said, now we see Maria's body. We see the father, carrying her through the streets, almost like, he just is moving like a zombie. He's just blind with grief. And, at this point, Anna leans over to Isabel and is like, why did he kill the girl? And, Isabel she's like, I'll tell you later. Just watch. Like, we got to watch the movie.
Pretty much just shut up. And everyone in the theater is like, shh, because they paid good money to see this effectively. 5% this probably wasn't nothing to sneeze at back then. Yeah. Like it is today.
Right. So then the next thing we see is just the girls running home, and they're, they just watched a scary movie. It's dark. They're like running. I think
we gotta get home now.
One of them even yells like, "Frankenstein's coming!" Like that. They're trying to scare each other a little bit, and just kind of being playful.
As only kids could do, really.
And I think the next thing we see is them, they're praying before bed, and then they're
Catholicas.
yeah, and then so they're tucked in, and Anna's like, okay, you said you were going to tell me, so why did he kill the girl?
Well, not only that, but why were they mad? It was clearly an accident. That's what Anna's thinking.
Yeah.
Why did they kill?
Yeah, why did he kill the girl, and then why did they kill him after? And Isabel's like, let's talk about it in the morning. And Anna's like, no, you promised to tell me now.
Yeah.
This whole bit, it's so good. Like, Isabel's like, okay, fine. That didn't really happen. It's a movie. It's all fake. None of that really happened.
She calls it Phantasma.
Yeah, but Frankenstein, he's real. I've seen him. Yeah. He wanders around the village at night. He lives in a house on the outskirts of the village. I've seen him. And Anna's like,
she says he's more of a spirit, which I think that's an interesting difference between the differentiation between a ghost and a spirit.
Yeah, and they kind of talk about that, like, what is the difference there? And it's like, spirit, ghosts are human people who have died and they leave their bodies, but spirits never had a body. They're just outside of that. But spirits can put on a body as a disguise. So they can interact with the corporeal world in a way that a ghost can't.
Right, and if you call to them, that's when they can really go into that corporeal body.
Yeah.
So if you say, Anna, or I'm Anna, I'm here, it'll come to you.
Yeah, if you befriend a spirit, they can. It's almost like you can pray to them the same way you could God.
Right.
And
I feel like these kids are ripe for possession. Yeah. If those rules apply, right?
Yeah, and so Isabel kind of continues to, she sort of prays to Frankenstein right there in bed, and then they hear shuffling footsteps outside the bedroom door, and they both get real quiet because that it sounds like the spirit of the monster is outside the door. But then we see that
in reality it's just Dad pacing the house. Yeah,
he's just walking around his study. He's I think it's like brewing tea or something, and he's waiting for it to be ready. And once it's finished, he pours himself a cup, sits down, puts headphones on that are plugged into like this small little device, and he just sits and listens and makes some notes.
It's like a ye olde Walkman.
Yeah,
but clearly not mobile.
Yeah, I was trying. So it was like, is he listening to public radio, or is he trying to listen to messages from the war? I wasn't really sure what we were to take from this.
I feel that you don't hear any words, right? It's mostly just noise. So it sounds almost music. It's not quite there. So I think it's supposed to be music, or maybe it is code. And I'm just not familiar with it.
Okay. Because, he's writing stuff down as it goes. And at first I thought, is he trying to, decode messages or something? But eventually later he sits down at his desk and he's flipping through the notes. And the notes seem to be about the Beehive. So it may be that he just, clears his mind, listens to music, and makes journal entries about how things are going with the hive.
Maybe the guy has ADHD and he's listening to the hyper-focused music. Those of you who know.
Yeah, it's the chill hip-hop beats to study to.
That too, yeah.
And I think we end up seeing his notes, he's talking about how intense the activity in the Beehive is. And this did to me sound like, I think he's fascinated by the bees, but he's sort of disgusted with their way of life. I think that this is the metaphor for fascism. The bees live in a sort of fascist world where they're working constantly. They're all serving their queen. They're drones. This is all language that gets thrown around when you are when you are in a fascist dictatorship sort of situation. So I think
every cog knows its place, right?
I think he does the bees because he's interested in the science of it, and maybe he's collecting honey, and that this is part of their income. We don't really get much of that, but I think there's also this sort of morbid curiosity about this sort of fascist world that kind of.
Well, I feel like this guy's a professor, so I mean, this is in some way this is theoretically linked to his studies, whether he's a ecologist, or what do they call the bee professors?
It's like, I know it's like
Entomologist.
That's just like bugs in general, insects, but like there's like apiary is like it's something to do with like apiology or something. Because I know an apiary is like a little bee, terrarium or something.
So he's either that or he's a sociologist or behavioral professor, and he's using bees to kind of study humans, which is very fascinating. But he is both intrigued and disgusted.
Yeah, and he ends up falling asleep at his desk, and when he wakes up in the morning, we have light filtering in from a window with a hexagon pattern, and then we see his window is stained glass to look like honeycomb. So like this is a lifelong fascination for him. Like this is certainly not a new thing.
He even has a beehive in his study, one that has an actual like what would you say? It's almost like chicken wire netting that goes up to I hope it's up to the ceiling. I don't know how he seals it off. I wouldn't put this in my study, but
I think this is some sort of system where the bees can come and go out of the house, but they can't be in the house. They can only be inside the hive thing in the house, or fly away.
Hopefully. But we also get kind of the crux, at least as far as the mother and father are concerned, because the father falls asleep at his desk. Then we cut to the mother, who's kind of just waking up in her bed alone. She kind of hears him come in. She rolls over to put her back to him as he just wanders around the bed and never really lays down in it.
Yeah, she's pretending to be asleep at this point. Like they don't really talk to each other.
Right. So this is either a loveless marriage or a marriage that has, I don't know, kind of run its course, and they're just not into each other anymore.
Yeah, I definitely got that.
Maybe
sense.
she's more into her other lover.
Yeah. Later, the girls go to school. It's a one-room Catholic school. Obviously, the girls are different ages, but they're all in the same room learning together.
So, did you notice this? That do not see a man younger than, I would say, 40 in this village at all. No males. Not a single male under the age of 40.
I didn't clock that, but babies. It makes, they're off serving. Yeah, they're all,
exactly.
Yeah. Because, the school is
does that not also kind of bring to another thing about the beehive, right? You have the workers and the drones and those that go out to recover the honey.
Yep. Yeah. So this whole, I mean, the spirit of the beehive metaphor is rich in this film for sure.
We got layers. We're like a beehive or an onion. I don't know. Whichever. Choose your metaphor.
Yeah. So we end up seeing like, they're like singing math problems like the girls are. And then the teacher rolls out Don Jose.
Don Jose.
Good old Don Jose. Like a kind of a flat Stanley kind of guy. He's like a wooden cutout of a man. And then like his whole like chest cavity is just painted black, and there are little pegs screwed into different points. And the teacher has a
where
stack
you're supposed to put the organs.
Yeah, she's got all the wooden organs with like holes drilled so that they can hang on the pegs, and has the different girls come up and hang. I think they start with the heart and then add the lungs.
Right. What are the lungs for? For breathing. Yeah. That's what the little girl says, and everyone kind of laughs at it. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah. And then, but the very last thing, she calls on Anna to add the last part. And, they got most of the chest cavity done, and there's like a weird spot on the face. And I was like, oh, they're going to do the brain. It's going to be this whole Frankenstein-y thing. But no, it's just the eyes, los ojos. There's still obviously eyes. There's a lot of metaphorical ways to read eyes. I think, she's definitely a girl who sees beyond what everyone else around her does.
Right. Very fitting for Anna. Where she sees things that others don't, right?
Yeah. So after that, we have the girls walking home, and Isabel points across this huge, vast field. There is like it looks like an abandoned house, but I think it's like some kind of like sheep barn or something. Like it doesn't have doors or
it's
for
windows.
Livestock. Yeah, but it's this kind of long, hut sort of thing. And
right, Isabel's a little shit stir because she's like, yeah, that's where the monster lives. He's in there.
Yeah. So they run down this embankment and across this huge field, go to the house, and like Isabel's not nervous because she knows she's making all this up, whereas Anna is like kind of standing back a little bit. Isabel like looks down. There's like a well. She looks down the well and then ends up walking inside. And there's 2 doors on the side. She walks in one and then comes out the other. But the camera does not follow her. We're outside in Anna's POV. So we don't know what she saw in there.
Right.
And
hint, it's nothing. Not really.
Yeah, but Teresa or Isabel, like, she comes out and she just starts running, and Anna just takes off after her. She doesn't know why she's running, but she's scared, so she follows her.
But Anna's not that scared because she comes back. She's like, "Oh, what's here?"
Yeah, and she's alone this time. I think this may be like the next day.
Yeah.
And so she, kind of does the same things Isabel did. She looks down the well. She yells in there to hear the echo. She drops a rock in the water.
But she finds something. She finds a footprint that's way bigger than hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this huge footprint. Yeah, she puts her foot in it to really show you how big it is. So she's convinced, okay, yeah, Frankenstein is around here. And yeah, she walks in and out of the building as well. And we follow her in, but we don't. Inside it is just a fully empty building. It's for livestock, so it's not like there's going to be furniture or anything. It's just an abandoned looking building.
Right, a place to get out of the cold weather, or as cold a weather as this gets.
So then we just see like that night the girls are back in bed and they're making shadow animals on the wall that are like fighting. They're like biting at each other. And Isabel's like, "Where did you go after school today?" And Anna says that she went to the house, but she didn't see Frankenstein. And Isabel's like, "Yeah, of course, he doesn't know you. You have to make the connection first. Like you're not gonna just find him." Cut to like another day where the girls are taking a walk in the park with their dad, and this is like really the first time we've had any
family connection.
Yeah, it's been like mom and dad aren't really talking to each other. The girls have their own thing going on, but we do get this nice sort of pastoral moment where like the dad is taking them through the woods. They're walking. He is like fascinated by foraging for mushrooms. Probably
right.
This is like a further part of his like sort of science expertise, but I think also it's like we need food, and this is free food that we can get.
Right. We don't have to have this shipped in. We could just dig up truffles and have a good time.
Mm-hmm. And he specifically is trying to train them about like how to tell which ones are poisonous and which ones aren't. And he
finds one. He's like, "This one's a real demon. There's no antidote to this one. It'll kill you pretty much as soon as you eat it."
Yeah. So he crushes that one under his boot, and Anna almost seems a little sad that just like that he killed this thing for no real reason.
Right. Not understanding that it's lethal, it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think this definitely shows her innocence and like her sort of feelings about the Frankenstein monster, that like he didn't mean to kill that girl, and these mushrooms wouldn't mean to kill you. It's just their nature, if you put yourself in that place and you have taken on this danger by interacting with the poisonous mushroom or the monster.
Right.
So then I think we see like it's just another day at some point. The girls are like jumping on their beds, and they're just kind of playing. And, again, the housekeeper is like, "You all need to calm down. You need to get ready for school."
Well, Dad also has to go out for work. Like, so he has to actually take a carriage ride into either the town or to another town. And this is one of the only interactions between him and Teresa, actual interactions, where she throws him his hat. She's like, "Hey, you forgot your hat. Here it is."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just throws it from like the balcony, and he grabs it and hops in the carriage.
Right, not saying much, so there's still not a whole lot there.
Yeah. And now that he's gone and the girls are supposed to be getting ready for school, what do but play with Dad's shaving kit? They put shaving cream all over their faces with the brush. They're just kind of playing around.
Isabel tries to teach Anna how to use it. She's like, "Yeah, you got to get all the soap on there, then you got to take this razor."
Mm-hmm. And then we see a little later, Teresa is brushing Anna's hair. And
once again, this is the only interaction I think we see with Anna and Teresa in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think we ever see Isabel with Teresa.
I think there is a dinner with them later, but nobody talks to each other.
Right.
Yeah, which is there's a lot of weight in that scene. But yeah, this like she's talking to Anna here, and I think that is the only time we have them conversing. Anna's asking her about spirits. And she's talking metaphorically. She doesn't know this long game that Isabel is playing.
Right.
But she's trying to explain to Anna what spirits are, in sort of like the fictional sense, I guess.
Yeah, of course, Isabel is the big sister, so she's a little shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I think this also speaks to more proof that Anna is the soldier's daughter, because Teresa doesn't interact with Isabel like at all in this movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. That like she feels a special level of love, like that she's the only thing Teresa has to remind her of this lover. And like you said, Teresa and Fernando and Isabel are all kind of fair-haired.
All fair-haired.
And Anna is very dark-haired.
Yep.
So I think
context,
Yeah. And then I think the next thing we see is the girls. They're playing on like train tracks. They're putting their ear up and like listening for a train. And sure enough, one's coming.
Anna.
Yeah,
why do you keep leaning your head on this train track? Why?
Yeah, as soon as they can see it way off in the distance, Isabel runs and is going to watch it from a safe distance. But Anna stays there way too long. The train engineer or conductor or whatever is blowing the whistle. We don't actually see him, but I'd imagine that the man inside that is panicking right now. But she does get out of the way in time, but definitely, waits till the last minute.
Right. The last second almost.
Mm-hmm. And Isabel looks scared about that. Like, there's definitely the sense that, like, this girl is not afraid of anything, and this could, I'm going to have to protect her because she's not going to protect herself.
Right, but also she's a big sister, so she's also going to mess with her.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Come on. Yeah, that's what you got family for, right? But then we're going to cut back to school. A girl is reading an excerpt from a book. Did you catch what book it was? I did not.
I did. I looked it up. So this is a poem by a Galician poet named Rosalia de Castro. And I think she's kind of like a really, really well-regarded poet in Spain. Right. This would be like, in America, like a Robert Frost or something like that. I think she may I specifically saw that she was Galician, and I know there's sort of like Spain has sort of different groups that kind of have sort of different histories and sort of have now all been lumped together as Spanish. It's like
Italy and Germany, right? They're all their own little groups, but then eventually they coalesced into one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'd imagine that there are probably, certain people in Spain who especially hold her in high regard as being like, she's from this same group that I am, that sort of like our ancestors were, I guess. We don't really have those modern ties anymore as much, but it's still kind of nice to keep that memory alive, sort of.
Yeah, she seems to be more of a socialist, which not friends of the Francoists at this time. So she's definitely a symbol of rebellion. Yeah. And but she would eventually be added on to the 500 peseta bill in Spain. So there you go.
Yeah, the poem, I don't remember a lot of it, but it had vibes, it kind of reminded me of like a Langston Hughes poem or something, the flower rising up out of the concrete kind of metaphors, like that. Not that specifically, but that kind of vibe of these sort of downtrodden people finding a way to thrive in a bad situation. So yeah, I'm sure that it is interesting that they're reading that in school. Maybe
can I read the English?
Yeah. If you got it.
This is a little bit of it. All right, now neither malice nor hatred, nor even the fear of change, I only feel thirst. A thirst for I know not what. Rivers of life, where have you gone? Air, I need air. So, there you go.
So definitely, it's definitely a poem of rebellion and frustration with being trapped. So yeah, it seems like maybe this village, because it's so small, it may sort of just be being sort of like peripherally suffering under the fascist regimes, but it's not like, not everybody has accepted that this is, the reality of the situation. I don't think that they're all Francoists here.
Also, to a degree, it's like it hasn't technically affected them because they're so small.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people that it is affecting on the outside, and they're feeling that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, once again, going back to the Beehive, it is those that actually have direct interaction with the queen, feel the queen's presence, and all the workers just kind of go about their daily lives.
Yeah.
In drones.
Yeah, so, a lot of times, if you have, like, stuff with, like, Nazi Germany or even, like, occupied Nazi France or whatever, the people who disagree with those in power have to be kind of hush-hush about it, or, like, there's a fear that if they say the wrong thing to the wrong person, but, if this is a teacher having kids read this in class, I don't think that there's a fear there that this is going to get out to scarier, higher-up entities.
Right.
We'll get to a little bit later that they're not full, like, the Francoists are around. They're not fully outside of this town, but
it's also interesting that they're obviously those in power and authority, like actual authority.
Yeah. And the other thing with this as this girl's reading the poem, Anna is really into it. She's looking in her textbook. She's like mouthing the words along. So you're continuing to get this sort of like rich inner life of this girl who is like, there's a lot going on that she doesn't understand a lot of it, but she's just really trying her best to like understand the world and the people around her and these, sort of fantastical things that she feels, drawn to.
Right. So then we're going to go from there to the mom's actually playing piano, and the kids are looking through a photo book or photo album.
Anna sees a photo of her mom that is signed, and it says, "To my dear misanthrope."
Misanthrope. Yeah. But the guy's doesn't look like her dad. Like, we've seen her dad in the past. He has darker hair, but not as dark as this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is likely our soldier. And at some point in there, like, Teresa just closes the piano, gets on her bike, and just bikes away. Like, there's no conversation here. She doesn't talk to the girls. They don't ask her about the photo. And then once she's gone...
Oh, animal cruelty, by the way. We didn't mention animal cruelty. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Yeah, we're getting to... Yeah, that scene is yeah, so we have... Now the girls are basically alone at home. We have...
Right, Anna's messing with the bees in her dad's office, which... I consider that a bit of cruelty if you're a fan of bees.
Yeah, she's like kind of shaking the hive a little bit just to like rile them up, and she's just kind of fascinated by the angry buzzing coming out of it. But meanwhile, even worse, we have Isabel, who is in bed, and this black cat comes in, and at first she's just kind of cuddling him, and then you know how cats are. You're holding it, and then suddenly the cat is like, "I'm done. I'm leaving." She doesn't want to let him go. She she starts squeezing him a little tighter, and eventually
around the neck. She's strangling it. She's choking the cat.
Yeah, and it hisses and scratches her and gets away, and then she just like looks at her bloody finger. So I don't think Isabel definitely, she's picking on Anna through the whole thing, but like it doesn't feel cruel. But this, this kind of,
this is an underlying cruelty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which do you think that's I don't want to assume, but like, because who knows where the actual filmmaker's mind was, but it almost seems like the darkness comes from the mother to a degree, or the coldness comes from the mother. Mm-hmm. And like that's what's gotten into more Isabel than Anna. Isabel seems more like Teresa than Anna does, if that helps.
Yeah. Yeah, and it to me it sounds, I mean, these two girls are in a situation where like their parents are both mostly just checked out. They're mostly just kind of like figuring out how to live on their own. I'm sure they're hearing all kinds of news of the war. It's a scary world, and they don't have really a support system.
They're their own support system.
I think in a lot of cases like that, you often end up with kids who feel like they want to do things just to feel like they have some kind of control over the world, and sometimes those can be good things, sometimes they're not. And that's kind of what I got out of this as well, is that like Isabel is like, my parents don't care about me, I feel hurt all the time, I can't do anything about that, but I can hurt this cat, I can exert power over it.
Right.
And
And
then-
you know what this blood that the cat drew looks like? Kind of looks like lipstick. So let me throw some of this on and see what it does.
Yeah.
And then we get the birth of the new Elizabeth Battery.
Yeah, and this even further adds to you pointing out the connection between her and Teresa. Like, I think this is her trying to be more womanly, more grown up, more sexual. Like, clearly her mother must be, if she's like got this, secret lover and all of this.
Yeah.
It's definitely her trying to like put on the airs of womanhood. And she puts it on her lips, she looks in the mirror, she kind of she's fascinated by this new version of herself in the mirror.
Yeah. As we noted that kids are sociopaths, Isabel's going to continue being a sociopath by we see Anna sitting there just plucking away at her dad's typewriter. She's writing either a poem or something in theory. And we hear Isabel just scream out.
Mm-hmm. And Anna she's kind of scared. Like, a lot of, if I heard someone scream across my house, I would just run to go find out what was going on. But she's a little girl and she's afraid. So she's trying to go towards the source of the scream, but she's also a little nervous. So she's walking slowly.
What am I going to do? I'm a kid.
Yeah, looking around, but she eventually gets to this room. We see Isabel laying on the ground, seemingly unconscious. There's a rocking chair that is rocking, like no one's sitting in it, but it's just moving. And there's
a broken flower pot.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's hard to say what exactly happened here, but it looks like, Isabel must have been on the chair or something and fell or so. That's kind of what the crime scene looks like, at least,
She probably fell and knocked over the flower pot. Because if this is a hefty flower pot, if this child had been brained by that flower pot, there would be no head. Or it would be very red in the room.
Yeah. So Anna is smart enough that she's like, okay, you got me, you scared me, good joke. And Isabel doesn't move. And so she goes to Isabel and rolls her over on her back and looks at her face and, keeps kind of trying to get her to wake up, and she doesn't. So she even Anna puts her head or her ear to Isabel's chest to try to listen for a heartbeat, but she's a kid. I don't think she's seen people do this, but she doesn't really know what she's listening for. So she's finally okay, I guess I gotta go get help. So she goes out, closes the door, and then she waits a few seconds and she peeks back in just to make sure Isabel wasn't fucking with her, and Isabel is still laying there unmoving. So she's like, okay, it must be real, I gotta go find help.
Right, but we see Isabel's eyes start rolling around, and she starts waking up and smiling. So, yeah, she was messing with her the whole time.
Yeah, but so, Anna walks around the yard. She's looking for Milagros, cannot find her anywhere. Eventually, she they're alone in this house, these two little girls, not even the housekeeper. So she goes back to the room to try to, help Isabel herself, and now Isabel's gone. And then she goes walks towards the window. The windows are open, and as she gets to the window to look out, Isabel sneaks up behind her with a really big gardening glove on and grabs her, so it doesn't feel like Isabel's hand.
Right, it's obvious a jump scare for Anna. And of course Isabel's a sociopath, so she just says ha.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And it's one of those Anna just has to be you got me, what can you do, you're the little sister, you just got to put up with this kind of thing.
Right. Well, Anna also didn't see Isabel's body when she came back into the room. She's like, oh no, she's been taken away by him, being the spirit of Frankenstein.
Yeah. So then we have just another day. Anna is just sitting watching while Isabel is with a bunch of friends, and they're playing around a bonfire. They're running circles around it. They're jumping over through the fire.
Yeah, as you do when you have nothing else to do, and you you don't have the brain capacity to have any thought about what's going to happen when you do that.
Yeah, Anna being the younger sister, that's kind of they're not letting her play with them or whatever. But then we see that night, Teresa is biking back home through the town, and she sees a bunch of people leaving the theater. The Frankenstein show is still in rotation. Then we see back at the house, Anna is still sitting by the dying fire. She's all alone now. Everybody else has gone inside. And Milagros comes out and is like, "You got to go in. Your dad should be home soon, and it's time for bed."
But Anna is like, she does go to bed, kind of, but she also then gets up and just goes walking around on the estate.
Yeah, she puts on boots and like a coat over her like nightgown, and sneaks past Isabel, who's asleep, and goes all the way to that abandoned livestock house. And inside, she closes her eyes and prays to Frankenstein.
And says, I'm Anna, I'm here.
Yeah.
So then we cut to a guy jumping from a train and injuring his leg.
Yeah, this is definitely like what's
It's Teresa's boyfriend.
Oh, okay. I hadn't made that connection. I obviously he's not a Francoist. He's a soldier for the other side and is in hiding.
Right. They call him fugitivo. Fugitivo.
Yeah, fugitive.
He looks like the guy. He looks like the guy in the book.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just didn't even think about it that way, but that makes sense, and that makes sense why they. So yeah, he injures his leg. He manages to hobble to the abandoned house, and meanwhile, then we see Anna getting home. This kind of parallels the scene earlier with the dad or with Fernando. Anna sneaks back in and as daylight is coming in, and she gets into bed and tries to pretend like she was there all night.
Right, but Isabel busts her. She actually has a conversation, whereas Teresa didn't.
Yeah, she says, "Where were you?" And Anna doesn't say anything. She doesn't respond.
Right.
I think then we just see later Anna going back to the house again, and so it seems like before she left the house before the soldier arrived, but now it's after school, I guess, and she goes there, and the soldier is asleep, and she kind of sneaks up on him and scares him. He jumps up, pulls a gun on her, but as soon as he sees it's a little girl, he calms down.
He's like, "Okay, you're good," but we don't really get any words between the two.
Yeah, she doesn't seem that upset that he just pulled a gun on her. Instead, she pulls out an apple and offers it to him, and he eats the apple. And then we just see later that night she comes back and she has brought him her father's coat, some more food, and a set of boots.
Right. Now, this is very interesting because she's garbing this man in her father's clothes. I feel like this is more of a, once again, kind of establishing that he is probably her father.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And she's even tying his shoes. She ties his boots for him.
Yeah.
Which that seems like a very intimate thing.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it's you usually see that like a parent tying a kid's shoes, but yeah, it definitely feels familial in a way.
Right.
And he ends up as she's doing that, he's digging through the coat. He finds the music box pocket watch, the very expensive pocket watch that we mentioned earlier. And he kind of does some magic tricks with it, turns his hand and makes it disappear and everything. And again, this is all done silently. They never have a conversation here.
But they're saying a lot, which is interesting.
Yeah, she's definitely impressed by, this girl is looking for magic in the world, so she loves this. And once he's kind of all settled in, of course she's got to go back home, so she sneaks back out, and then we get the one scene of true violence in this film, and I think that the way that this is done shows you that this director knows that there's violence in the world, and that's not what he's interested in portraying.
Right.
So we have a really long shot of the house from a distance, away out in the field. It's dark, it's nighttime, we could just barely see the silhouette of the house, and then we hear 5 or 6 gunshots and just little flashes of light in a few different spots, as it's not just one person firing a gun 6 times. We've got the house is surrounded.
And by the way, it is also interesting that you only see the flashes. You don't really make out the people. It's that far away.
Yeah, it's that dark, it's that far away. We just have just little orange lights. It looks like lightning bugs or something, but it's matched up with the gunshots. And then I think the next thing we see is Fernando being sort of summoned by a military officer, the Francoist military officer, and they bring him into a room, and show him a body under a sheet. We don't.
You know this guy?
Yeah, and he doesn't. And we don't see it, but obviously we know who it is. And yeah, Fernando's like, no, I don't know the guy. And they're like, yeah, we figured. I think he was on the run. He probably stole some stuff out of your house and went in hiding. So here's your coat. Right. Here's your pocket watch. Here's your shoes.
Interesting. The guy's like, that's weird. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, and Fernando's just like, yeah, he's just like, okay. So he takes his stuff.
Well, it sounds like we're actually adding dialogue here. There's none. There is just gestures at the body. Like, the only thing said between the constable and Fernando is, hey, wait a bit, I'm shaving. Like, right as Fernando gets to the constable's office.
Yeah.
I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah. So the next scene, we don't even, like, he takes his stuff, and then we just cut to the whole family having breakfast together. This is our one scene of the whole family together. And nobody says anything. Like, they're just all eating silently. And then at some point in the middle of breakfast, Fernando pulls out the pocket watch, opens it, it starts playing the music, and Anna looks up really quickly at it and then looks away.
Right. So did you catch this, though? Because he doesn't look at Anna first. He looks at Teresa first for just a second. Mm-hmm. But then he notices that Anna kind of stiffened up. Mm-hmm. And then he looks directly at Anna, and he's like, okay, you did this. This was you.
Yeah. It definitely, it seems like he is suspecting that this has all been Teresa, but he obviously is pulling out this pocket watch as a, method of finding out who the responsible party is. Right. Definitely did not think that it was stolen by the soldier. He knew that this was someone in his own house. We see later Anna going back to the house, and she, again, the camera stays outside of the house like the first time with Isabel. So we have her run into one door and then run out the other. And then she starts like kind of looking. Out there. Yeah, she looks out at the field. She looks down the well. Where is he? She goes back inside. This time the camera follows her, and we see blood splatter on the ground. So, I mean, obviously we knew, but now Anna is seeing that this man has been killed.
Right. But not only that, but as soon as she walks out for the final time, Dad's right there. Mm-hmm. He's like, gotcha.
Yeah. And she just runs. She just takes off running, and he can't keep up with her. She's just gone. So then we have later Teresa like standing on like the balcony of the house yelling for Anna. We have
which I think's interesting because Teresa could hop on her bike and go out. I mean, also, this is the 1940s. Probably everyone was like, you stay home anyway in case she comes home. But like Teresa is specifically at home and everyone else is out looking for her, even Isabel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely get, I think this is common in a real search party situation. We divide and conquer and everything. But I think that there's where everyone is part of, like, it's intentional. Like, Teresa is the mother. She's the symbol of the home. Isabel is standing on that embankment looking out at the vast field with with the livestock house. So she's at the, where she is kind of at fault. This is... she's sort of responsible for taking Anna here, and the end result being Anna missing now.
Right.
We also have, villagers searching, like a search party.
It's like a mob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
searching for a monster, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's the parallel there is very, very clear. Yeah, they've got dogs, and then we finally do see Isabel, or we finally do see Anna. Yeah. She is alone. She finds a mushroom, and she touches it hesitantly, like.
Yeah, it's one of the poisonous ones. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe she's considering taking it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's thinking about it like this is her spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is her connection to this undead monster that everybody thinks is dangerous, but maybe if you trust it, it doesn't have to be.
Right. So while they're out doing that, though, and Mom is once again still at home, she's like, well, it's time to destroy any evidence, and throws a love letter into the fire.
Yep. She gives it one last read to commit it to memory, and then puts it in the fireplace. And then back with Anna, we see her walking the woods. she comes upon a small pond, and she looks into the water and sees her reflection. And of course, we talk about, the monster seeing his reflection in ponds constantly. It's an ongoing theme in Frankenstein stories.
Right.
And the parallel there
But
is
her reflection
is
that of the monster.
Yeah. It's her for a second, and then the water ripples, and then suddenly it is the Frankenstein monster. It's the classic universal Frankenstein monster, bolt neck, flat top head, the whole 9 yards. She looks behind her, and there he is. Not just metaphorically reflected in the water, actually physically there. She sees him. And
now, is it me, or does it look like it's the dad, Fernando, the actor Fernando, in Frankenstein makeup?
I thought so too, and then I looked it up, and it's the credits say it's a different actor, but it is an actor who looks very much like Fernando, and I thought that was, that seemed like it would make sense for it to just be the same guy, and it be sort of Anna imagining this monster being like a father figure to her that she's always wanted or whatever.
Somebody totally different. Okay. Fair enough.
Just coincident. I think it's not a coincidence. I think they got a guy who looked similar on purpose, would be my guess.
Right. But you would think they would just reuse Fernando, or maybe the guy was like, I'm above this. I will not don this makeup. I'm here for the art.
Yeah, I don't know. But the monster does come up to her, and he kneels beside her, beside the water, very reminiscent of the Maria scene.
Right. Well, we even have a shot for shot where, the last scene we see of Maria, we see of Anna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he puts his hand on her shoulder, and then it cuts away. So then we see it just cuts to the next morning. The search party dogs are what actually finds Anna. She's asleep, and she's not by the pond now. She's up against these ruins or something. It's the facade of a building, but there's no building. It's just one wall with holes where doors and windows should be.
Probably an old bombed out Castillo or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then we just see her. She's back at home now. We've got a doctor talking to the parents, or no, just Teresa, right? We don't have the parents
just
together.
Teresa, not to the father, not to Fernando.
And basically he's she's shaken up, she's not really talking or eating much, but she experienced a pretty bad trauma, but she'll be fine. She'll
just give her some of this medicine, everything will be fine.
Yeah,
she's a kid, she bounces back.
Yeah, she's alive, that's all that matters. So the doctor gives a prescription to Milagros and tells her to go out and get it, and then he leaves. And then we have a little later, Isabel goes to check in on Anna, and I think this is Isabel hasn't told her parents that she feels responsible for all this, but she does. She definitely does feel responsible, so she wants to go apologize to Anna, but Anna doesn't really respond. She just is out of it.
Right, now, I believe it's at this time we then get to see the father walking back and forth. He's reading a love letter. He's reading a love letter.
Okay, so maybe he
knows.
Yeah, and he's pacing around his office again. He's he's looking at the Beehive, and then so it's just kind of Mom doing the domestic things, taking care of things. Dad is kind of shaken up by his own trauma and is aloof and hiding out in his office. Isabel is dealing with her grief alone and not talking to her parents. And then eventually we see at night, Isabel's laying in bed. She can't sleep. She's still, suffering from her guilt. But Fernando has fallen asleep, but again at his desk.
So this is very interesting, though. Because at this time, after he's fallen asleep, Teresa actually comes in and puts his jacket over him. Mm-hmm. So this is almost like they're reconnecting, but after the death of her lover, she probably knows by now.
Yeah.
And then maybe Fernando. So,
I think this is definitely a sort of a sweet thing to do that feels domestic and loving. She takes his glasses off just so that they don't get bent or they're not pressing against his face or whatever. And right. And he's got a lantern at his table where he was reading, and she blows out the lantern.
So the question is, did she do that because A, this is the only guy I got left, or B, because he saw that I was doing this and still stayed with me, and that made her fall back in love with him? If there ever was love?
I think that, optimistically, it would be that second one. And I think maybe, Anna being missing, she realizes that, like, this is my family. I need to protect them all. I haven't been here really, I've not been a part of this family for a little while, and that's on me, but maybe I can do better.
Right. Yeah, because once again, going back to what you just said, she's not really ever with the father or Isabel much. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Then we have Anna getting out of bed. She drinks a glass of water and she goes and looks out the window.
We cannot express how long this glass of water takes. Like, this is apparently a very vital part of the movie.
Yeah. She takes her time, and then eventually, we see her looking out the window off into the distance, hoping to see that spirit of Frankenstein that she now knows is out there. They've met. They had their moment. She repeats the specific lines that Isabel said earlier about, like, if you become friends with a spirit, you can speak out to them and they will come to you.
She says the final lines of the movie are, it's me, it's Anna. Mm-hmm. It's Anna.
Yeah. And that's how the movie ends. So, it's definitely a very melancholy ending with maybe like a little hint of hope. The movie was made I think by the time the movie came out, the Franco regime was over, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I don't think you're making this movie during the Franco regime.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of a movie about, like, this was a hard time and we made it through. Whatever it took to get there. Maybe the family is figuring things out just the same way that the country is going to figure things out. Maybe we have to hold on to hope that's not even entirely real, but if it gets us through it, that's all that matters. So that's kind of what Anna's doing here. I think. Oh,
sorry. Let me go back and go back on this. I was incorrect by saying the Francoist regime was over. No, it would not end for another 2 years after this movie was made. But by that time, it was basically done.
Okay, that kind of even checks out more. That, like, we're going to do a lot of metaphor stuff. It's going to be a little bit obscure, but we don't have to be too obscure.
Right.
And it does that message of hope at the end feels like it makes more sense to be like, we're almost through it, guys. Like, just
right.
Just
he can't live for much longer.
Yeah. Anna is calling out to something that might not really be there, but I know I've read a lot of, Marquez, like, I think, like, Mexican Spanish, like, there's a lot of Mexican, like, magical realism, but is that a common feature in, like, Spanish stuff as well? I'm not as familiar with, like, Spanish fiction and stuff like that.
I mean, it would have to be because you have Don Quixote, right? That's a very Spanish thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea. I think right before Don Quixote came out, like, there was very much, everyone was into fairy tales. Like, that was a thing. And that was still pretty recent at the time of the Don Quixote books. And where everyone else was like, no, we've moved past that. This is post-Renaissance. This is in the 16th or 15th century. We're Enlightenment, right? We're beyond fairy tales. Whereas Spain was like, nope, we love that shit. Let's keep going with it until Don Quixote popped up, and it was like, yeah, we can make fun of ourselves. It's good. We can do that.
Yeah. That really, that checks out. Like, this all kind of comes together in this way where, like, I think we need that sort of magic hope. We need to, like, again, going back to the sort of, like, alternate opening dialogue from Frankenstein, don't take it too seriously. Like, right. we're gonna look at the fantasy, we're gonna look at the fantastic, and use that as a way to get by. Yeah. So, like, I think that this is a movie that, like, I'm not really, really well versed in Spanish history, and I feel like the more you know about that, probably the more that this movie would just, like, open up to you and just blossom with all kinds of little bits of information. But, like, you don't have to dig too hard to just find all of these really complex and beautiful metaphors that this story is giving you. It's a really, really rich film. And, as we kind of talked about at the beginning, like, it doesn't really rely too heavily on plot, and that gives you time to just kind of, like, live in what these characters are going through. It's it's very much unlike anything we usually talk about here, and it's been kind of a really nice change of pace just to kind of spend some time in this sort of less horrific setting, in this sort of like pastoral scene of this family really suffering together and trying to come together there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it is very interesting that whether the father knew about the infidelity or, did he even care because of his work? That's also, an underlying thing. Who was the queen necessarily in this? Was it Teresa, or maybe was it Anna, or, what have you? And yeah, I mean, it's very, I like this kind of movie more or less, even though I did mention that it was very good ASMR, but that's, like you said, because it's just a quiet movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is what, episode 172 for us. Kind we tend to lean towards the horror and the genre stuff. But this kind of thing is also very interesting to look at and discuss and everything, and it's definitely been a fun
we got culture.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a very our previous sort of Franco things have been Jesus Franco, which is a very different vibe than this. So
different type of Franco. Yeah.
So we've got the whole range of Francos from. This one's really been an interesting one. If you've not seen this, I know Criterion has released it. I know Criterion has their own streaming service. I'm sure you can find it there. But this is definitely one that's worth your time if you've got the patience to kind of sit down and really. This is not a movie you're going to casually be scrolling through your phone while you're watching. No. You gotta commit to it, but it's worth it if you can.
Exactly. Yeah, just to pick up all the little details. There's a lot of little crumbs left in every little spot, so try to stay awake, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
All right, anything else we got to say about it?
I think that's it for this one.
All right, Anthony. So, Spirit of the Beehive, it's a brand new year. I like honey, you like honey. You know what honey is? It's a substance.
It sure is.
That is the absolute weakest transition I have ever done. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mark it down the history books, folks.
Well, I think we definitely the connection here, I guess, would be this is another film that like uses elements of genre stuff to tell a deeper, more complex story. This is obviously one of the more buzzy horror films of the past year or so. As of the recording, or as of us right now, I think yesterday or the day before, Demi Moore just won like Golden Globes for this. So yes, we're gonna talk about The Substance. We kind of
apparently her speech was fire, and they're saying that's probably going to win her the Oscar.
Yeah, so. This movie is not like, we've had the Oscars occasionally, like The Shape of Water or, Silence of the Lambs or whatever. We'll get some genre stuff in there, but usually
they're not kind.
Yeah, they don't really love it. And The Substance is a different animal. It is a whole different level of like, it's got a lot of weird gore, a lot of body horror. It's gross. It is.
Well, I have to say this transcends like genres. So not only is it sci-fi horror, comedy for sure. Like it does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a movie that we're gonna have a lot to talk about next week. I think we kind of debated whether or not this counted as a Frankenstein movie. We weren't sure if we were going to talk about it or not, but it's people just keep talking about it, and we had a friend who really wanted to be on, so we're gonna probably have a special guest next week, a recurring guest, so we'll see what he has to say about it as well. And
good friend Alex.
Yeah, Alex. He was on our last Frankenstein episode. Which was
not the last Frankenstein episode, the movie called
Yeah, so we'll be back with Alex next week to dig into The Substance, and I think that should be a pretty interesting conversation.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, anything else we have to say about it?
I think that's it.
Continuada.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.